born and raised out in St. John's in North Portland and lived there just practically all my life, except during the time I was gone during the radio days. I idolized Bob McAnulty, who was my idol at that time, and Sammy Taylor, the guy they called the little man behind the 8-ball, and used to listen to them, and Fred Meyer Dance Time and Lucky Lugger Dance Time with Del Alney, and it just continued on, you know, for the years. KOIL, Coil Radio, which was their sister station to KISN, and KLSC was here in Portland. They were an oldies station, and KCAP in Helena, Montana, and KWIK, which is where I started out in Idaho, in Pocatello. I did have the freedom to nobody around to bug me, but I also had the license to cover the station, and I had to be out there at the transmitter at night because I had to switch the pattern at 4 o'clock in the morning. Smith Lake on one side and then the slough on the other side. During the Christmas week flood of '64, I had to take a boat to work back and forth at night out there going down the Columbia Slough, if you can imagine. Well, sometime during the Sunday afternoon, Don Steele had to go out there and do duty. Somebody told him that was a water moccasin in the water. You know, it was just a regular garter snake. And from that time on, he refused to go out there at the transmitter. This gal that called me, and she just in tears, crying her eyes out, and she was on the verge of committing suicide. And so I talked to her and explained to her, yeah, you're going to have to wait in between records while I introduce these different songs. And she hung on, and I talked her out of committing suicide. And lo and behold, she's completely healed and straight arrow today. It sticks in my mind all these years. I think the biggest one was the John Kennedy assassination. The other one was when they captured Adolf Eichmann in there and put him on trial. I was back in Omaha then, and they came and got me. They said, "We need you on news now," downtown. And so we covered that completely. And then, of course, the Christmas week flood of '64 in there, which was unbelievable. It came up into the transmitter. I've got pictures of me wading through the water to go upstairs to get to work.
And that other nickname, the Preacher, you definitely deserve that.
That was stuck on me by Tom Michaels, our program director, because he tried to get me to do certain things on the air, and I'd agree to it, but I'd go out to the transmitter and do it my own way anyway. Once when I clowned around with the Close Your Eyes record in there, where they take a big deep breath, and I just cut loose with a hacking cough, and he happened to be listening. And he called me up and he said, "I want you to break that record now, right over the telephone so I can hear it snap."
Oh my.
So I took one of his 45s and broke it. I think the music was all out. The different artists that they had on the air that they were playing, and Phil Spector's Wall of Sound in there that was dynamite with the Crystals and Darlene Love and so many others that recorded for him. But I think that was the big part of it. But just the overall sound of the '60s music. Probably my all-time favorite was Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, but the early stuff, not the later stuff they did, but stuff like Deep Blue Sea and Work With Me, Annie, and Annie Had a Baby. All these different records that came out during the early years of Hank Ballard. And then I went down to see him one time at the McElroy's Ballroom, downtown Portland. and I got to talking to the drummer on break. The next thing I know, I found myself sitting in up there on drums with him. And Cal Green, who was the leader at that time, he didn't call out the title of the songs. He says, all right. He turned around to me, all right, we're going to do it this way. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. No song title or anything, but thank gosh I knew all of those songs and had them.
What was your reaction to the album-oriented FM stations that started to sprout up in the late 60s?
I had no use for it. Plain and simple. The music, yes, and the way the DJs presented it, they got by with some dirty stuff. And I don't understand how they got by the FCC with doing it that way. But some of the things they played was unbelievable. I started out back in the 50s with what they call stock hardtops. And I had a 34 Ford coupe with a 48 Merc flathead engine in it. And we used to travel around to the different tracks and race the hardtops. And then I switched over to stock cars, running a Chevrolet, and also jalopies. At the same time was combined destruction derby as well. Portland Speedway, Jansen Beach, here, and then all over, from Yakima to Longview. My son did a lot better, but he could make me sick with all the trophies he's got. But that big one came from up in Yakima when I won the main event up there. The bandstand, working a live crowd in front of the different people every weekend, change over, and then I had my regulars that stuck with me all those years, and it was just a great time. So I've had nights, you know, that were completely slow, but one of them was Frank Sinatra's Learning the Blues, and it starts out with the rooms are empty, the tables are deserted, and it was.
True story.
Yep. They lost their license through the entire chain, both Wife Radio in Indianapolis, Indiana, and Coil in Omaha, Nebraska, and KISN here in Portland. And it was due to the Bob Hatfield, Mark Hatfield and Bob Duncan political campaign. And they accused us of political slighting because our owner, Burton, wanted Mark Hatfield to win. It's a great honor, completely, and more than I could ever say, because this is great for the KISN Good Guys all together as a unit, and it was great for me to be a part of that.
Well, it's going to be great to have you in the Oregon Music Hall of Fame.
Thank you.